Hello, my name is Crystal Petrie, and you are watching another episode of my podcast, 60 Minutes With. On today's episode, we are talking to Dr. Eva Boldridge. She is my very first prostodontist. Hopefully, I got that correct, Dr. Eva.
You did.
She is going to talk to us about veneers. It's all the rage, or at least it seems like it's all the rage right now, especially with celebrities that you know and love, like Cardi B, Shannon Sharp, different people like that. So she's going to talk about and educate me and you on veneers. Now, wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, make sure you subscribe to my channel right now. So welcome to the podcast, Dr. Eva.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Yay! So where in the world are you?
Well, I am in Houston, Texas, H-Town, in the Galleria area. Yep, H-Town, representing for the H.
Always. So did I get that name correct? Prostodontist?
Yes. Prosthodontics. I always tell people, think about prosthetics. Okay. And that's what we work with as well. The prosthetics when it comes to mostly teeth, but sometimes tissue and other parts of the mouth. In addition to a prosthodontist, I'm a maxillofacial prosthodontist. So we deal with trauma patients, head and neck cancer patients, and we make prosthetics in the mouth and eyes, nose, and ears as well.
Wow.
But I don't do those prosthetics anymore. But with digital technology getting better, I think our time is coming to be able to do more for patients who have extreme trauma cases.
Okay. Before we get started, I was thinking about this last night as I was like mentally preparing for our interview. Number one, I was practicing on prostodontist, practicing how to say that. But it also occurred to me that I have never seen an African-American woman in this field. You are the very first one. And I'm 44 years old. And it occurred to me last night, I have never seen an African-American female in this field. So thank you.
Oh yeah. Well, there were some ahead of me. And we're a very not as well-known group. Because I think the name is kind of off-putting to people, but prosthodontists are really the people who are trained to do the most advanced dental cases. So we had to have an extra 3 years of training. We had to learn about the materials. We had to be able to make most of the stuff on our own before actually, sending it to a laboratory. Within the past 10 years, prosthodontics have changed because now all the programs require prosthodontists to be surgically trained. I was one of the last prosthodontists who had the option to surgically train or not. I opted to not because I work really well with surgeons. And for me, I don't want to have to deal with all of the extra information, overhead of dealing with the surgery part. But now prosthodontists are surgically trained, and we're not very well known. I think it's because we're still trying to get the name out there, but it's also such a hard name to say sometimes. But I try to put a face to it and try to get more publicity about our specialty because it's a wonderful specialty.
Yes. And I feel like it's one of those specialties that you don't know you need until you need it.
Amen. Yes, it really is. I had a family friend who at the time was doing fine, and then they ended up having a lesion in their palate. And I was able to work with their ENT surgeon so that after they had their biopsy and tissue removed, I could help them heal faster. And I was able to educate the ENT surgeon how I can help them because I work with ENTs. I work with sleep medicine quite a bit. I work with speech pathologists. So I don't just always work with teeth, but you would be surprised how much your mouth and your teeth affects your everyday functions, from eating, swallowing, and most importantly, speaking.
What is an ENT?
Ear, nose, and throat doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got
But
that.
when I did my maxillofacial training at MD Anderson, I had to work with ENT surgeons all the time, mostly because we're dealing with cancer. And that also trained me to help me understand how a speech pathologist could help me as well, for patients who have lost part of their upper jaw or lower jaw to cancer or to trauma. I have patients who have part of their jaw cut away or the roof of their mouth cut away because of cancer. Or you have people who were born, not as much born with cleft palates anymore because they're being treated as babies, but there are still some baby boomers who have holes in the roof of their mouth because of cleft palate. So you have to be able to treat those patients as well. And working with a speech pathologist can help. So, yeah.
Dr. Eva, you are a whole thing. Dr. Eva, let me find out. You are a whole thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but when I went into prosthodontics, I have to say I had a really good mentor in dental school, Dr. Nelson,
Mhm.
and he would call himself a military fart, but he took me under his wing and he really showed me the beauty of being able to recreate something that was damaged and help bring a better quality of life to patients.
Mm.
And he really, I don't know if he meant to, but he really geared me toward prosthodontics, helped me get into my program in Alabama. And he's now passed, but his wife, I still keep in contact with her, check up with her. I'm very grateful for the mentors I've had to help me, foster me, and direct me. And when I went into prosthodontics, I realized we were about to go to war. There would be more trauma patients that we would have to think about for the upcoming 50, 60 years. And I thought, I kind of like the idea of going into something that's a little less known, just for my mental learning, being able to create the idea of creating a nose or helping a patient who um, lost their ear. I'm better at ears, actually. Noses, I'm not as good. Helping those patients, you don't think that that has to do with dentistry, but it does. It's a
I
little
would not think that ears, especially ears, has anything to do with dentistry because they're way
yes.
back here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we work with oncologists and anaplastologists. And one of the anaplastologists I work with, she was an artist. I've also seen how anaplastologists get jobs working in the movie industry, making prosthetic noses and everything else. So everything can be a little bit related. You don't even really realize it.
Yes, yes. Okay, so before I get into the our podcast and our questions and what we're here to talk about with veneers, if you ever make it to Hollywood, don't forget about me.
Never, never.
Remember Crystal Petrie?
I got you, girl. I got you.
Yes. Okay, so we are going to talk about veneers. You're going to educate us on veneers. First off, what are veneers?
Okay, veneers in the literal sense is something that goes on top of your teeth to make your teeth look a little bit more aesthetically ideal.
Okay.
They've actually been around for now 100 years. There was a dentist in California. I can't remember his name. I even tried to study it beforehand, but I forgot. He made the first veneers out of acrylic for actors in Hollywood. And they were just little shells that he cemented on the front of the teeth so that the teeth would look good in the movies. And they only lasted a few hours. but he started opening his practice. And over time, veneers have gone from being acrylic shells to composite. And then the most ideal is ceramic, a porcelain veneers. And there's nothing wrong with the composite ones. They are not as strong and durable, and they can wear down faster, but they're economical. But the porcelain ones are the ones that look more lifelike. They reflect light more like our natural teeth. So, porcelain is what most people see the celebrities doing, the ceramic ones. There's different kinds. There are kinds that you can just bond to your regular teeth, depending on how good your teeth are, or a thin layer of your of your teeth on the front and maybe a little bit on the edge gets reduced down. And then you're put in a temporary, which is usually acrylic. And when they're done, they're bonded to your tooth surface.
Okay.
So the difference between a veneer and a crown is where you cut down the whole tooth
See,
and
that's
it's a
what I
little bit of
was
stump.
thinking. Veneers were you cut down the whole tooth and
No,
then put in like the veneers.
no, no. The veneers are actually, think of a glass slipper. You're
Hmm.
putting a glass slipper on top of your foot. Okay. A crown is more like putting a heavy boot on your foot.
Okay.
It's very
Yes.
thin. And the thing about veneers, for the most part, you want them to utilize the vitality of the natural tooth to make it look real. Whereas those crowns, it's a little bit harder to make them look as real. Now, I do it all the time, but you've got to know your dental materials. But what I find now is that most people don't want their teeth to look natural. We're going through a trend that I've seen that was back in the 1950s as well, where celebrities, people in the national spotlight, they had these perfect, what we as dentists call chiclets. And
Okay.
they've got these perfect teeth, and that's because of probably how the filming industry was, and the cameras and everything. But over time, the culture starts to embrace a more natural look. And in dentistry, we're normally trained to make things look beautiful but natural. But right now, I think a lot of the trends are going towards just really, 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 really white. In dentistry, we sometimes call it toilet bowl white, and some people want that.
Why do you think that trend is coming back? Why do people want what dentists call toilet bowl white teeth?
I think it's just a trend. I think it's just a normal trend. I mean, why do women want the big butterfly eyelashes? If you look, we just have these style trends, and I think they just come and they go. The biggest thing I tell patients is that when you do this, you've got to wear it for a while. These veneers can last quite a while, so you can always pay to get them changed out, but styles usually come and go. And when you're a celebrity, your face sells you. So
Mhm.
I get it. I mean, when your face is on a billboard or they're doing close ups on you, especially singers, when they're opening their mouth and they're singing, you've got to be white. Because let me tell you, people will say, "What's wrong with that tooth? They're missing a side tooth."
Yes.
Um, but for the everyday person, if you don't have that whole glam look all the time, um, it can be a little offsetting, and it can scream not real. But right now,
Mm.
it's okay for things to scream not real. So it's just kind of what the culture is like. What's the fashion? And the fashion right now is bright toilet bowl white.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yes, they are.
I also
Wh-
feel that it has to do with the propaganda. People feel that if teeth look white, they're healthy, they're clean.
Oh,
Um, And that's a sort of misconception because white teeth do not equal healthy. Most of our teeth has an undershade of either a gray or a yellow that has to do with just who we are genetically.
Hmm.
And just because your teeth are white doesn't mean they're more healthy or they're not healthy. It's just, I think, more marketing. But it's gotten into everyone's mind that if our teeth are not white, they're not healthy. And again, that comes and goes. But no one, no one that has completely dark teeth are gonna probably feel confident. So there's got to be a medium somewhere in there.
Which is your natural color. I feel like the median is your natural color of your teeth.
Yeah. So my teeth, I rarely use brightening toothpaste. I did try some every now and then just to see if they'll work. Um, I kind of prefer a more natural look, but I think most dentists do. Uh, but it's kind of just what your preference is. Everyone has their preference.
Yes. I know you said, this started like 100 years ago and it's a trend, but really the first time I started hearing about veneers was with Shannon Sharp, who is a former NFL player, National Football League player. Now he has a podcast, Club Shay
Mhm.
Shay, that's super popular. And he talks about the veneers. And I think he said he spent like, and don't quote me on this, like over $100,000 on
Yeah.
his teeth, on his veneers. And I feel like now, yes, it's a trend,
Hmm.
because I know Cardi B has them as well. Like a lot of celebrities have them, but I feel like it's a bragging thing now.
It
That you
is.
can spend $100,000 on like dental work.
Well, I think you have all kind of celebrity dentists and people. I think Dr. Catrice Austin, she's the one who did the one for Cardi B. I keep in contact with her on social media. Um, there are doctors that all they do is those kind of veneers. Um, and don't I never say that I know what everyone has, but when they say they're spending that money, they're putting a blanket on it. You never know what kind of dental situation a person has. So
True,
he may
true.
have spent his money on a lot of things, but what you see is veneers. So, you say that, but you never know. No one's going to tell you exactly I had this and this and this done. But when you have back teeth, they're not really called veneers. They're more of like onlays where you have more tooth structure. So you have to take it down a little bit to make sure it looks good. Or on the back teeth, sometimes you have to do crowns. So it could be a lot of different things. And whenever you do a full mouth rehabilitation, your price is automatically higher because there's so much more attention to detail that you and your laboratory has to pay attention to. So it's not just counting up how many veneers. There is a lab usually puts on an extra fee when you're doing a full mouth smile.
Hmm.
There's more time, there's more considerations. And when you have a celebrity that's not in town and that's always traveling, and if they break something, you've got to be able to provide them that service. So when you have those kind of caseloads, your price point's going to be higher because you have to dedicate more time.
What would you say are the dangers of getting veneers from someone who is not a licensed dentist? And the question comes from me assuming that you have to be a licensed dentist to do veneers. So
You
that's what
should
I'm
be.
thinking with that question.
You should be. And legally, you should be going to a dentist. The newest trend, which I think really caught a lot of attention the past 6 months, are the veneer techs.
Hmm.
And those are not dentists. You have to graduate from college to get into dental school. And then you have to have 4 years of dental school. Veneer techs are not dentists. You can easily look up anyone on the state dental board licensing website to look to see if someone's licensed. Some people say, well, I'm dentally trained. Unless they're a dentist, please don't have them working on your teeth. There are some people advertising on social media, TikTok, saying that they got trained by a dentist. There are, unfortunately, some people within my field who are willing to do that. It's not illegal to teach a class,
Mm-hmm.
but it's illegal to enact upon any of that without proper testing and getting your licensure. I know one social media doctor flew into the United States and was giving weekend courses to just anybody to do veneers. And most of those veneers and those veneer techs are composite veneers. Those are when you can just bond composite material that's tooth colored material and shape it on your natural teeth. And my concern with that is, number one, you don't know the chemistry of what you're working with. Number two, you're not supposed to be using any of those materials without a dental license. And number three, you're working on someone where you don't know their health history, you don't know their allergies, you don't really understand the biochemistry of what's going on in their mouth. What if they already have cavities there? What if they've got periodontal disease? What if you build up the bite and they can't bite down and chew correctly afterwards?
Oh,
What if you build up the teeth too fat and it causes more gingivitis and gum disease because they're over contoured? So a lot of these people are a quick fix.
mm-hmm.
I feel, unfortunately, they're preying on people. Maybe sometimes their insecurities. They're preying on people who may not know. And I think some people do know what they're, signing up for, but they want that pretty smile.
They do.
They
They
do.
do.
And there are options. There are dentists who take payment plans. There are, we're going to talk a little bit later about people going to other countries, and I'll talk the pros and cons about that. The biggest thing I want to tell people is that this is a felony in any state. In Texas, it's a third-degree felony. And it can be racked up as much to a second-degree felony, especially if they start to cut on the tooth surface.
Oh, wow.
It's one thing just to bond it on. That's still practicing dentistry without a license. But there have been stories and reports that I've heard of people having their teeth actually cut on. So that is, I would almost say that's assault, but I don't want to take things out of, I'm not a lawyer, but it's not good for these people to be advertising and doing this to people knowingly.
What is you spoke earlier about there's a website where people can go and check to see, if the person is a licensed dentist. What would that website be for Texas?
So it's the Texas State Board of Dental Examiners, and I think you have it going down at the bottom, tsbde.texas.gov. Each state, you should be able to look up a person's license, and you can see if it's active or if it's suspended or if it's been revoked. If you don't see their name on the listing, they're not a dentist. And you are putting your body at risk when you do that.
How do these, like, for lack of a better word, fake dentists and unlicensed veneer techs, how do they even advertise their services? Are they on social media? Do they have commercials?
Social media, I would say TikTok and Instagram are the biggest ones. And what I've noticed, I follow this quite a bit and I report on it a little bit on my social media. The newest trend is they sometimes are in an office building, but they're only there for maybe a few weeks. Recently, there was someone who got arrested, posted bond, flew out, and went to another state and was performing services in another state.
Wow.
So, if they're doing it out of their house, it's bootleg. And some people say, well, don't mess with my hustle. It's not a hustle. It is a hustle, but it's an illegal
It's
hustle.
illegal. That's what I'm thinking
It's
too.
illegal. It's illegal. And I think sometimes, well, I feel that they're preying on people who they know won't report them. And I'm starting to see a change in that. And I think that's good. And in the state of Texas, we do have some people in the dental association that's trying to see what we can do to kind of crack down on people advertising dentistry without a license.
That seems like, and I feel like the onus should completely be on the person that's falsely advertising, completely on them. But like as far as the board and the legal ramifications, it seems like it would be so difficult to track down these people because, like you said, they're always moving. They never stay in one place. So how could you like track them down and figure out who's who? That seems like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and it's kind of like whack-a-mole. You get them there, they move, they go there, because they're crossing state lines, and each state is different. And in the grand scheme of things, of all the other stuff that's going on, I guess it doesn't seem as a big of an offense, but it will be when people start reporting it. And I think reporting it is the most important thing. If you have gone to someone, some people don't want to even acknowledge that they got it done. People will say, I got my veneers, but they won't really say where it's from. And it may be out of shame or embarrassment. There could be many reasons, but I tell people you're putting your health in untrained hands.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing I want to kind of portray, is that these people know what they're doing is wrong. There is no question. And if they say they don't, I can't see how they not, with how the news has been reporting on it. But they know what they're doing is wrong. The public still needs to be educated that this is a felony. And a lot of people say, well, why doesn't the dental board come on them? Well, the dental board can only do so much because they're supposed to regulate dentists. These people aren't dentists. But
I mean, because for me, like any medical person, like I'm doing my research, I'm asking questions, I'm doing like the whole nine. How do these unlicensed dentists and fake dentists get people to trust them to do these services? Like it has to be more than just, I
social
seen you on
media.
TikTok or I seen you on IG.
It is. I mean, if you think, it's no different than, oh Lord, don't let this come back to bite me. People selling snake oil back in the day. Some people they're really good at marketing themselves. It's unfortunately with, great talent comes great responsibility, and
Right.
they're not doing that.
Right.
And I follow some of these people. There's one in Houston that I sometimes just watch, and I see what they're advertising, because they have no shame. They know. And a lot of times, if they do too much, a lot of the dentists will come in and start commenting on their social media.
Mm-hmm.
But they're very good at what they do. I mean, I wish they would use their powers for good or go to dental school.
Yes, just go to dental school.
Yeah, but it's a hustle. It's an illegal hustle.
Yes. You know what this reminds me of? The BBLs, the Brazilian
Yep.
butt lifts.
Yep. People
It's
getting,
the same thing, except, we're talking teeth instead of that.
or Botox, people, and
Yes.
they'd have random people, going to a hotel room and,
Yes.
getting Botox, and sometimes it's not even Botox.
Yes.
It's the same thing. The societal pressures for fashion or looking a certain way I mean, I get it. I feel insecure sometimes too, but what I think is that usually these trends, they come and they go. What doesn't go is your health.
Exactly. And the damage, whatever damage is left, that stays.
And usually if you get, I mean, I'm in some dental groups where we send pictures of what's walked into our office. And usually if you had just gone to a dentist, you wouldn't have to, you usually end up paying double because you had someone who's not licensed, not insured, work on you. And then someone, if a dentist chooses to treat you, they are taking the liability of whatever that person did to you. So
Mhm.
sometimes it can be even hard to find a dentist to correct this because a lot of us are like, well, you allow this person to do this. Who's to say you're not going to blame me for what that person did to you?
If I was a dentist, Dr. Eva, I would say no. Like
A lot of doctors do,
I'm
or
not
their
getting into
prices
that.
go up,
Yes, to
because you're taking on
cover.
a liability.
Wow. Okay, so and again, I'm not blaming anyone else other than the fake dentist. But what role does social media, like the platforms, have in this? Can they like stop the advertising or like take it down off of their sites?
I wish they would, but
Hmm.
again, when you think about social media, there's always going to be a good and a dark side.
Right.
And in the realm of everything, I feel that the people who are watching and regulating, this is lower on their priority list. So it means patients have to do their due diligence and look up these people, look
Exactly.
their credentials. Anyone who is licensed is going to give you their credentials on their website. I have it on I have my certificates right here. Those are very expensive certificates I got back there. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. I'll tell you every school I went to. But when someone and when you want to meet someone, do your research. If they don't have it on their website, ask them where they went to school. Where did they train? you know there's nothing wrong with asking and checking credentials.
Hmm.
If someone's name doesn't show up anywhere,
That's
they
a red flag.
red flag, red
That
flag.
is a, I wish I had one. I'd throw it right
Yeah, I
now.
would
That's
be
a
like a red
red
flag.
flag.
Hold on, red.
I don't have
Red
anything
flag.
red around me, but I wish I did. That's a
You
red
need to get a
flag
red
right there.
flag.
I know.
Red
I
flag.
definitely need one.
Yes.
Why do you think, and of course I know it's not just the African American community
Yeah.
that
No.
are getting veneers. I know that it's,
Mhm.
across the racial lines,
Yes.
but specifically in the Black community, it just seems like a growing trend. Why do you think that trend is growing so rapidly in the Black community, and how does that affect dental health?
Well, I talked about this with you the other day. I remember watching a documentary, and they were talking about when this celebrity got big, he got his new teeth, and they called them the Denzelis. And I was like, oh, they talk about Denzel's teeth like that. But I looked and I was like, oh yeah, Denzel did get his teeth done.
I
Um,
never knew that until
yes,
you
yes.
told me.
Yes, and I was like, "Oh yeah," and I recently looked back at what Cardi B's teeth looked like before, and I was like, "Oh yeah," I could tell she got her work done, but I looked and I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." I think it's almost kind of like a badge now. Sometimes I see an up and down where everyone wanted to show their wealth in a certain way, and
Yes.
showing your teeth, looking exceptionally white, being straight. That is the new trend right now. And I think with a lot of the rappers saying, I got my teeth done, when you hear it, when you see it, people start to associate it. Now, for a while there, I thought grills had gone down. Not really in Houston, because we all know Johnny Dang is right here in Houston. So
Yes.
grills are forever going to be there. But for a little while, I was seeing patients, and I had seen one who was getting his grill taken off and wanted to go to straight white teeth. There was this huge celebrity push to get rid of the grills and go towards, white teeth. There's temporary grills and then there's permanent grills.
Right.
Temporary grills, no big deal,
Yeah, you
but
can just pop them in and out.
you pop them in and out. But the ones that are in there forever, man, I would hate to have to clean them. But that's a whole other story. Um, but I think it's, again, just another trend of showing. I hate to say it's almost like the gold chains back in the day. Everyone had a gold chain to show, I got it made. Now
Yes.
people are like, I got my teeth done, I got it made. It's a confidence builder too. When you're taking pictures and you like to smile, whereas a
Mhm.
lot of people, they don't smile. They're like, you know th- I think it's so many different things, but I feel that teeth have definitely come into the limelight in the last 10 years.
Yes.
We are having our day as dentists.
Y'all
People
are
need to go
having
back
y'all
to work.
day, y'all year. Yeah, yes. I'm thinking, how do you take care of veneers? Because Shannon Sharp, again, former football player, has a podcast now. He says he brushes his teeth 10 times a day. So, I
You
mean, is that something you have to do when you have veneers, or do you just brush them and floss and rinse like regular?
you brush and floss like regular. I tell patients, you brush the teeth you want to keep. So brushing and flossing is probably a little bit even more important when you have the veneers, because you want to make sure you're cleaning around the margins and you want to brush along the gums. And you want to make sure you protect your investment. When you're
Yes.
putting in that kind of money, you're protecting your investment. No different than people who have an expensive car. They take care of their car. They've got a protective cover over their car. They don't take their car out in a certain weather. You're protecting your investment. So when you have those kind of full mouth veneers, I usually always require my patients to wear a night guard at night,
Mhm.
because you don't know if you're grinding or doing anything else. You want to protect that investment.
Right.
So it's, you have to be a little bit more tedious. If that smile included implant bridges with crowns, you've got to be a little bit more intentional in the way you clean your teeth, and using a little bit more time. So it's no different than anything else that's an investment. You are investing in you.
Yes. Yes. So let's go across country lines here, Dr. Eva. A lot of people go to other countries. I know we're talking about veneers on this podcast,
Mhm.
but for like surgical medical procedures, they go to other countries and get that. Talk to us about why you feel like people are going to other countries to get veneers, and what are the challenges of doing that?
So that's the whole dental tourism. I talk about it on one of my YouTube videos as well. There are dentists all over the world, and I would never try to say any dentist who's not American is not good. That's not it. But you have to think about what we talked about, just getting a dentist here. Check their credentials. A lot of people go across the border to Mexico, or they're going to Europe and Asia, and they're doing it because they can get them at lower cost. And I get it. Dentistry is not, it's not the most economical thing here in the United States. And I don't begrudge someone trying to get proper health care at a more economic rate. But what you really need to do is you really need to research who you're going to, making sure that you have someone that can speak the language so that you can completely understand what's being done. A lot of times, if you can take your dental history with you there and then bring the dental history back, make sure you have ownership of what was done to you so that when you come back to the States, someone knows who did the work and what was done. Making sure that the people that you go to are accredited. Each country, almost every country, has their own associations. Are these people involved locally and in their country or in their, in their associations? Sometimes you can even check if some of these dentists have been trained in the U.S. There are people who are actually part of the international branch of the American Dental Association. You should also check for sterilization, hygiene procedures in these different facilities. You hear a lot of bad stories about people getting secondary infections,
Yes.
and they either get sick on the flight back or right after they get back, or sometimes they don't even make it to the plane. You got to make sure you check up, do your research. Don't just do it because your friend did it. Your friend may have been lucky. Uh, that is my biggest concern for people. And if you're going to go there and get a lot of work done, please stay there at least a week or so later so that if there are any other adjustments or anything that needs to be done, you can get it done there before you come back. Because if you get work done in another country and then you come to the US and you want someone just to do a touch up, most dentists are not going to want to do it without charging you an astronomical fee. Because once we touch someone else's work, we're taking the liability.
So basically what you're saying is, because the touch up, the follow-ups, if you have a follow-up, which most likely you will, speaking specifically about veneers, you have a follow-up, then you really should go back to the country.
Yes.
So that dentist, or we're hoping that they're a licensed dentist, to get the follow-up and to get the checkup.
Yes. If you're having a full mouth rehab done, which a lot of people do, you really should be planning to do follow-up appointments there, at least for the first 3 to 6 months. Don't think it's a one and done, because whenever you're doing a full mouth rehabilitation, there will always be fine tuning. Our mouth is a machine, but each machine is different and slight adjustments have to be done. So really plan to have that already built into your budget before you go and do this.
And what are the legal ramifications, and there probably aren't any here in the US, that if someone goes to another country to get this dental work done, unlicensed dentist or, a fake dentist or something, because it's cheaper, and they get sick or something like medically happens to them, are there any legal ramifications here in the US that can be taken against someone in another country?
Okay, so that's a layered question. So I'll
Yes.
first say the local US veneer tax. Depending on what state you had it done, you would have to report it to the police.
Okay.
And in most states, that would be either a class 3, class 2 felony. So there could be ramifications legally, for someone in the United States. In the other country, I don't feel that there is anything that you can have legally in the US. You would have to look at the liability and what is considered medical malpractice in each one of the
Okay.
countries.
Yeah.
So once you take yourself to another country, you take away all of the legal protection that you have in this country, and you have to consider what the legal representation, and what do you have in that country? That is something that's part of research.
Oh, that is I just, and this is me, just speaking my point of view. I just don't feel like it's worth it. I just don't feel like it's worth it. The
You know,
risk.
it really is. Some people just have wonderful experiences.
Hmm.
It always makes me cringe because I
Yes.
only see them if they go wrong, or I see them on social media with other dentists when they go wrong. But I refuse to say that all of it is wrong. But when it goes wrong, it can go really wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, the patient I've seen, the most recent one, he went to Columbia and he thought he was going to be seen by a certain dentist, but the dentist didn't work on him. That's the other thing. A lot of these celebrity international dentists, they really only work on the celebrities.
Hmm.
They have associates that work on other people that they bring in. So you may think you're going to go see the celebrity dentist, but a lot of times you don't. It's only really the celebrities that get the celebrity dentist.
Right.
They have other trained dentists who do the work for us normal folks.
Right. Right, right.
Yeah.
Now, earlier in the podcast, Dr. Eva, you were talking about like the fake dentist, this is like their hustle or their side hustle. And, we use that word so much in the, just in our everyday language now. I feel like everyone should know what that word means. But when it comes to that, should stopping unlicensed dental practitioners be seen as protecting the public or interfering with the hustle?
No, it's
Because there,
definitely
yeah, a lot of
protecting the
people have
public.
side hustles.
Yeah, this is not a side hustle that you want to be caught on the wrong side of the law. I
Okay.
mean, I see nightmare stories of people doing bootleg braces,
What?
and they are moving teeth on patients who have periodontal disease.
Oh,
I mean, I have seen a lot of very unimaginable things. I wouldn't even dare to put brackets on someone because I did learn about ortho in dental school, but I learned that I don't want to do it. Um, Putting forces on teeth and moving takes time to learn. And a lot of these people are doing these procedures without ever taking an x ray. Ooh, that's what I want to bring up, x rays. Everyone talks about how they don't want an x ray. Here's the thing, we can only see what we see in the mouth, we can't see what's below in the bone. X-rays show us what's going on where we can't see.
okay.
And there could be pathology, there could be bone loss, there could be cancer. Um, there are people who look fine, and then you look on the X-ray and they could have a lesion in their jaw, and you would never know. If you have someone doing dental work on you and they've never taken an X-ray, that's a warning sign.
Red flag, red
Red
flag.
flag. Girl, you need to get your red flag.
I do.
Yes. Yes, we need to periodically take x-rays to make sure that everything in this area is healthy. Most of the time, if you catch it when it's small, it's able to control. When it gets to be a flash fire, that's when things get a little bit more extensive.
Yeah. What would you say are the parallels, if there's any parallels, between regulating unlicensed dentists and regulating drug dealers?
Whew. I knew you were going to bring it up. I was waiting. Um, Boy, that one is hard because you can sometimes tell. Well, it's really the onus comes on the people who are going to them for dentists
Hmm.
because, geez, people don't report that they're doing this.
Right.
And people advertise, whereas you don't see a lot of dope dealers advertising anymore.
True.
So you have the dealers who don't want to advertise, but you have these providers, quote providers, that are advertising. I just feel that the general public has not really understood the importance of how this can affect people and affect their overall health. I think a lot of people think, well, that's those other people. I don't have to worry about them. That's not me. But every now and then we hear a story about someone who looks like they're a dentist,
Hmm.
even puts up licenses and even
Yes.
rents out a place. And then they're good at selling, they're good at working people over, and they're doing work on people. And if you're one of those people and it goes wrong, then you're going to worry about it.
Yes. Why do
Um,
you think people don't report it? Like they don't report, I had this work done by an unlicensed dentist. They don't report if like something goes wrong. They don't go and report it. They just keep it to themselves.
I think shame, number one, or embarrassment. And I really would encourage people. I know it probably feels like I can't believe I got duped. No one likes to feel and say they've been duped.
Hmm.
But speaking out can help stop these people from harming others.
Yes.
That is the most important thing, is getting these people off the street, off the out of the extra, building office for 1 month, or whatever they're doing. You're protecting someone else, but a lot of people, I think, get so upset, shame, anger, frustration, and sometimes they probably think, well, no one's going to care about this. Why would they listen to me? Some of these people are actually targeting people who probably have an immigration status that's not legal.
Hmm.
So if your immigration status is not, legal, you don't want to be anywhere near the police. Um,
Right.
so
Right.
I feel in that way they're targeting certain people, and in that, when you're targeting someone, it's a malicious intent. And I've seen people that just don't want to believe that that person did them wrong. I can't believe that.
Hmm.
And I've had a patient that I saw, and some horrible work was done on them by a licensed dentist, and I tried to encourage them to go somewhere else, and they just wouldn't. They're like, no, I'm going to have this person fix it. Um, so I think there's so many complex ideas and thoughts, but hurt, shame, embarrassment, concern about your own well-being being attacked, or
Hmm.
feeling that you're not significant. Those could all be different reasons.
I remember, and this was some years ago. I'm a Tom Cruise fan, but this
Oh
was some
gosh,
years
yes.
ago. Yeah. Yes. This some years ago. Remember when they said that Tom Cruise had the perfect smile?
Yes. If you
Re-
looked at old pictures of him in The Outsiders, girl, he got them all done.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I remember it was like a huge story,
Oh, yeah.
for like a long period of time saying that Tom Cruise had the perfect smile, which I don't even know what that, like, what is that
Well,
perfection? It's
you
like
bring
we're all
people.
striving for it, not we, because not us, me or
Yeah.
you are not, but a lot of people are striving for this perfect Tom Cruise smile.
Yeah. And we actually get patients who come in. Oh, the worst ones are the Photoshop smiles that are like AI generated. I want this.
No.
Um, so look at my smile. Okay.
Beautiful.
I
Beautiful.
actually have crooked teeth. I have an uneven lip pull. I pull to one side higher than the other.
Okay.
And I actually have one tooth that comes more forward than the other. I
Okay.
probably need to do Invisalign to get it straight up again, but you know, patients can sometimes obsess about a certain smile. And I get patients, especially my African American patients, that want the toilet bowl white. I try to usually, especially if they have dark colored tissue,
Hmm.
to tell them don't go so bright, because we're all told toilet bowl white's perfect. But when you have melanin in your tissue and it's brown, you don't need as bright of teeth to contrast to look white. And the more bright it is and the more flat it is, it's going to scream fake to whoever sees you.
Yes.
So his smile was beautifully curated, and
Hmm.
I think he's had it redone, but I don't quote me on it, because usually veneers only last you maybe 10, 15 years if you're good.
Yeah.
Then you'll probably need to get them done over again. Um, so the beauty in a perfect smile, I feel, is that it flows with your symmetry of your face,
Hmm.
with your musculature, with your eyes. All of that has to flow together.
Right.
When people take someone else's smile, like they do a haircut and put it on them, it's a little bit different.
It
Um,
always will be.
It always will be. I had one patient, she swore up and down she wanted her sister's teeth. Her sister had veneers done. She was really, really tiny, petite. Her sister was a little bit heavier set and was had a larger mouth, a wider jaw, and she was tiny. And she goes, "I want teeth like that." And I said, "Your mouth cannot hold teeth that wide." And she demanded, so I made her sign, and I gave her those big teeth, and she felt the pressure on her cheeks. She's
Ah,
like, "It's hard for me to." I said, "Yes, your muscles can only tolerate a certain amount of pull. That's why when you see some celebrities, when they get their big teeth done, they're like this.
Dr. Eva.
It's because their musculature can't handle the push of the teeth violating the space it's not supposed to be in there."
Yes. What do you think? And again, I always, when I'm doing my podcast, I always want to, I'm not blaming celebrities. I'm not blaming influencers. I'm not at all. But what do you think, if any, should the celebrities, should the influencers, should they hold some kind of responsibility to this? Because I mean, if we're being honest here, Dr. Eva, people are doing this because they're seeing their favorite celebrity, their favorite influencer with these, teeth, with these veneers, with the toilet bowl white teeth.
Um, Again, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes, yes.
Uh, at the same time, we were talking about this earlier, you can't blame someone for their hustle.
Hmm.
But I think what you really have to go is, who are you listening to
Right,
for your validation?
right.
What do you need in yourself to make you feel more confident? People are always going to try to sell you something.
It's the
Okay.
truth.
It's the truth. I mean, people are always going to try to sell you something. But a lot of times, people are doing things to fill an emptiness, to fill an insecurity. If you can get to the bottom of that more, I think it'll it'll make you see a different perspective. That's not really answering your question. Um, I I don't put value to influencers,
Hmm.
but I'm I've never really had that problem. But that's not to say everyone doesn't. You know, other
Right.
people they look to certain people and they want to emulate that.
Yes.
Someone's going to come back to me and say, Eva, good and well, you used to, okay, I used to love Whitney Houston. I used to think that was her hair, and I wanted my hair just like her. I
Oh
didn't
my
know it was
gosh, she is
wig.
my favorite.
Yes. So I used to want to have that curly hair like Whitney Houston, and all my hairdressers were like, girl, that's a wig. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I let it go.
Yeah.
Um,
And I just wanted, not to interrupt you, I wanted abs like Janet Jackson.
oh,
Remember
didn't we
this?
all? That's the way
I
love
wanted
goes.
abs like Janet Jackson. And then the story came out, which I don't look at you, Dr. Eva. Dr. Eva over here dancing on the podcast. Remember when the story came out that she had like ribs removed? And that's how
Yes,
she
I
got her
remember hearing
abs.
that. Yes.
I mean,
And
I don't know if that was true, but when I heard that, I was like, well, never mind.
you
Never mind.
know, I won't lie. I'm of a certain age now, and I've thought about getting, some areas readjusted. And you get affected by what you see.
You do.
But I feel that you have to kind of put yourself in perspective. Um, do you want to pay for that?
Yeah,
Are you willing to deal with the side effects of that?
exactly.
Here's another thing. Can you maintain that after you
Yes.
pay for it? And that's probably why I haven't had anything done yet.
Exactly. Exactly.
um,
Me too.
yeah, I get it. And the one thing is that we have to always realize celebrities, they are their product. So the high A-list people, their body, their face, their voice is their product.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you have people who are actors, a real actor wants to be able to disappear in a role. So they can't, there's a difference between people who are acting and get disappear in a role and people who are just celebrities. If you're just a celebrity and all you're doing is being photographed, and you're being paid to sell certain things, you know, they have to invest in that. They're investing in their product.
Yes.
Um, I have patients all the time that are like, I'm in public speaking or I'm in the public. I'm like, well, we're technically all in the public. Um, but I don't think that the average person is held to the crazy standards that celebrities have. And
Yes.
that would be the one thing I would tell people is you have to understand that person has a kind of unrealistic standard that they have to uphold. Even if they go to the grocery store, there's paparazzi following them, taking a picture of them, trying to find them a picture of them when they look broke. You don't have to follow me too long. I'll take this makeup off and you'll see the real me.
I mean, that's the case for all of us. That's the case. Let me
Exactly.
put this t-shirt and jeans on and go to this grocery store. No
Amen.
one is following me, Dr. Eva.
Yes, exactly. I can't fault the celebrities. You just have to remember and put it in perspective that they're selling things. They are.
Yeah.
Um, but if you want to feel better about your health first, and if your health is okay orally, and you want to feel a little bit more confident about your smile, there's nothing wrong with that. Do it the right way. Educate yourself on who your provider is. Interview them. Do your research. You are putting your mouth in their hands. Your mouth affects how you chew, eat, how you intake your nutrition, how you are understood when you speak. Your mouth is very important. And I don't begrudge someone with trying to make themselves feel more confident. Just do your research.
Right. Now, as we get ready to wrap up, Dr. Eva, give us the website address again, where my listeners and people that are watching can go to check on their dentist, make sure that they're licensed, make sure their license hasn't been suspended or revoked, and also give us some specific things that we need to look for and questions we need to ask.
Okay, so in Texas, it's TSB as in boy, D as in dog, e.texas.gov. So that's the Texas State Board of Dental Examiners. You can also, in any other state, check on that state's dental board, and you can just write in the Google your state board licensing verification, and you should be able to type in that person's name and see if they're licensed. Uh, what was the second question?
Some specific things that we need to look for as the consumer. What do we need to look for? And some questions that we need to ask to make sure that we are dealing with a licensed professional dentist.
Okay. Make sure you check out their credentials. Find out where they went to school. If they're saying they're a specialist, find out what specialty that they are and look to see where they were trained. Sometimes people will name a school and you can look up and see whether or not that school has a program. Uh, that's probably the dead giveaways.
Right.
The other thing is, are they active in any of the dental associations? Are they involved in the community? That is very important. Find out. You can also look on the dental board to see if they've been under suspension or if they've had their license revoked. Social media is kind of like a smokescreen sometimes. And people can look really good on social media, but in person, it could be completely different. I highly recommend that once you look at someone, read their reviews. You know, most of us, most dentists and medical providers, we can't stand Google and Yelp, but read their reviews, see what people say about them. Some people will have a great chair side manner. Some people can be a little, straight to business. Interview them. Don't just select one person. A lot of times people travel quite a distance to go see these different providers. And I don't begrudge you if you do that. Make sure that you see some of the work and interview them. See if you feel comfortable with them because you're going to have to spend time with them. Usually, when I have patients come to see me, I tell them, this is as much of an interview of me as it is of you. We have to see if we get along, see if you agree with the treatment that's being presented. Sometimes people will present you something crazy that you don't think you need. You weren't thinking that drastic. Okay, see someone else, compare, ask them why they're recommending doing all of that. And most importantly, also ask them if there's payment plans.
Yes.
Most of us have payment plans. Most dentists, we have some way of helping our patients get work done. The one catch is everyone wants everything last week.
Right.
I tell patients, if it took you 25 years for your mouth to deteriorate, at least give me 6 months to get everything back together.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
That's fair. And one other thing, I spend a lot of time talking to patients in the first exam, and I try to learn their habits. A lot of times we are not recognizing the things that we're doing in our daily life to cause our teeth to deteriorate and break down. From bad habits of biting on our nails, drinking juice all the time, sipping on a sweetened coffee for 2 hours, sipping a whole bunch of soda. All of these different little things can cause you to have cavities really fast. make sure you let people know when you're going to interview your health history. Do not lie about your health history. Oh my goodness. Do not lie about your health history. There's a reason why we're asking it. That
Yes,
that could affect what's happening in your mouth.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dr. Eva, this has been the best. Oh my God. This has been such a great interview for me. You are
Good.
amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. See, now you got to get a red flag now.
I do. I'm gonna have to get a red flag for my podcast, just like they do it. Like they have them in football too. You gotta
Yes.
give me a red flag. You are right. You are right. Okay. So my final question for you is: who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast? But you have to help me get them on.
Okay. Well, I have two names. Okay, so one is my very dear friend, Dr. Lila Hishaw. She's really a big advocate for diversity in dentistry, and she has just been doing wonderful things, educating young people about going into dentistry. And then my second person is Alisa Shihar. She's my speech pathologist that I work with my patients here in Houston. So I think these are two wonderful women who are doing wonderful things. And I think both of them would be very different topics. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am going to enjoy having them on this podcast and learning from them, just like I did from you. Again, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate you, Dr. Eva.
thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And for everyone that's listening, that's watching, thank you so much for tuning in and sticking with us this long. Remember, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.